All right, let's get into the Thursday night preview with Douzable and Bryant McFadden. You heard it in the package there. Niners quarterback Brock Purdy, good to go, and he's got to be feeling pretty good about himself after beating TB12 last week, something Matt Ryan, Dak Prescott, Josh Allen. I mean, great quarterbacks who have yet to do that. How do you see him faring against this Seattle defense, Leger?
Well, Brock Purdy, I just loved how this young quarterback deciphers and knows what defenses are trying to do. You saw it last week versus Tampa Bay Bucks. Todd Bowles, what do you do to young rookie quarterbacks? You blitz them, get the ball out of their hand quick and make them decipher on where to go with the football. He knew exactly where to go with the football. They motioned Christian McCaffrey out, one-on-one situation outside with Logan Ryan, runs a sluggo concept where he kind of flakes the slant and then goes deep, throws a touchdown to him. Then also, Brandon Ayuk on a double move. Kyle Shanahan has done a really good job of making the game easy for Brock Purdy. But what I really like was his elevation in this game. Down in the red zone, right? Todd Bowles goes zone coverage. Deebo Samuel's coming on a crossing route. He sees that the A-gaps are wide open. He uses his athletic ability to get forward and get a touchdown in the red zone. This Seattle defense, it has struggled. Now, I think Kyle Shanahan is going to use the run game heavily because the Seahawks defense has given up 160 rush yards in 4 straight games. So I think the run game is going to be, the star of the show for the 49ers today. But I really like how this young quarterback has been able to decipher between man coverage when they blitz and also zone coverage and find his receivers open.
Yeah, the running game has to be the key in regards to what San Francisco would like to do offensively. Heck, it was the key last week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But when you look at what Brock Purdy was able to do at home against the Buccaneers, he was extremely comfortable for 4 quarters. He did everything you wanted your young quarterback to do plus more. Very, very smart with the football, super efficient, 2 throwing touchdowns, roughly under 200 yards on 21 passing attempts. So you didn't need a lot from Brock Purdy, and when you needed something for him, he was able to deliver because he was as comfortable as a baby in a car seat. But just playing on the road in this atmosphere is going to make things a little more uncomfortable for the young quarterback. And I think we will see a little struggles, clearly more than what we saw last week, just from being on the road against a divisional foe. They understand how important this game is. And yes, the Seattle Seahawks defense, there have been some leakage in their defense in all 3 levels throughout the entire year. But I tell you this much, we will see a more inspired group compared to what we saw last week against the Carolina Panthers. And they're going to make life miserable, try to make life miserable for the young quarterback in Brock Purdy.
Yeah, it could be a good game for Christian McCaffrey this one tonight. This 49ers defense, B-Mac, and we've been talking about it for weeks, #1 scoring defense in the league. Are there any weaknesses that Seattle can exploit there?
It's a good question. This group has been so dialed in. It doesn't matter who is in the lineup, because think about this. This defense they've been hit with the injury bug throughout the entire year. But the consistency has been there. They're a well-coached group. They don't allow big-time splash plays. They play with sound fundamentals. So in regards to any holes or negatives within this group, I don't really see any. I don't see any. Fred Warner's playing outstanding football. Of course, we know what type of Terra Bosa has been. Getting Armstead back in the fold has been huge as well. This is a group, man, that play inspired football. So if I'm Seattle, you cannot attack this group like you're afraid of what they've done. You talked about points allowed, #1, total yards allowed, number 1, rushing yards allowed, #1, passing yards allowed, #1. You have to bring the fight to them. And the best way to attack this group, try to establish the game within the game in the trenches. If you can run the football, that was something they were not able to do the first time, maybe you can spark some successful opportunities by doing so. But if you become one-dimensional, look out. It's going to be a long night.
Yeah, B-Mac, you make a really good point. This is the #1 defense in football for a reason. At all 3 levels, they have elite playmakers. And you talk about that front 4 that can get after you, led by Nick Bosa, who leads the league in sacks. Then you talk about Fred Warner and Drake Greenlaw. When they got him back, they took this defense to another level. I didn't even think that was possible. But when Drake Greenlaw came back from injury, he took this defense to another level. And then even at the secondary, right? Tashawn Gibson, who's come in when Jimmy Ward has been hurt, he has 2 interceptions. So they don't have a lot of weaknesses. I agree with you wholeheartedly. This Seahawks offense has really struggled running the football since Ken Walker III has been out. He's supposed to come back this week. I think they try to establish the runs. If you look inside, right, Eric Armstead coming back has given them a big boost, but they lost defensive tackle Givens, so losing him is going to hurt in the run defense a little bit. I think the Seahawks got to come out and try to establish the run. If you're Geno Smith, you can't have him go out there and throw 30 or 40 times because that's what the San Francisco defensive line wants, right? They want you to drop back that many times to give those pass rushers a chance to get after that young offensive line and get after Geno Smith. I think they have to establish the run. Ken Walker III is going to be big for the Seattle Seahawks today.
The first time they played this season, the Niners beat them by 20 points. Geno Smith didn't throw a touchdown in that game, threw less than 200 yards. He was sacked twice. So, Leger, you talk about it, what his role is tonight. So what are your expectations for him?
Yeah, honestly, I think you have to establish the run game. You can't have Geno go out there and throw 30 or 40 times. Honestly, I don't see him throwing over 250 yards this game. Now, I do believe they'll be down in this game. And in Geno fashion this season, he's been able to bring his team back. We saw it a few weeks ago versus the Rams. He wasn't able to do it last week versus the Carolina Panthers. But this is one of the most, if not the most efficient quarterback in the NFL. Nobody has more big-time throws than Geno Smith, and they're going to need his A++ game today against the #1 defense in football. He does a really good job being able to find Tyler Lockett in those zone coverages and then taking some shots down the field to find DK Metcalf. Now, he struggled a little bit last week, Geno Smith, in the first half. Matter of fact, the first pass he threw in that game was picked off by J.C. Horn. He kind of bluffed in the cover two and then sloughed off and was able to pick off Geno Smith. And then Geno Smith threw another pick in that first half, but he was able to bounce back and throw 2 touchdowns in the first half. One that was just a beautiful pass in the back of the end zone to Tyler Lockett, and then also found DK Metcalf down the seam. So Geno Smith has been pinpoint accurate. He struggled in week 2 versus San Francisco 49ers defense, but every quarterback has struggled against this San Francisco 49 defense. I look for him to take advantage when San Francisco goes into some of those zone coverages to find Tyler Lockett. You have to stay ahead of the sticks if you're Geno Smith. Cannot be in 3rd and long situations, because then it's going to be a long day, not just for you, but for the offense as a whole.
My expectations for Geno Smith, smart football. Smart football. He's been super smart through the majority of this season. That's why we've been ripping and raving about his production, right? It's okay to put your glasses on and become Clark Kent. That's okay. Every now and then you might have to put the cape on, but in tonight's matchup, just be Clark Kent and play smart, sound football. Leger, you talked about the turnovers last week against Carolina. Yes, he bounced back, but those turnovers put them, Seattle, in a hole they could not get out of. If you provide turnovers for this San Francisco 49ers defense, they're going to run away with this ball game. So expectations, Geno, protect the football. There's nothing wrong with punting. We saw Geno try to fit the footballs in tight spaces last week. The Panthers defense made him pay for it. The first meeting against San Francisco, he wasn't super efficient. We saw a costly turnover, didn't do anything in the red zone. They lost the ball game. If they have any fighting chance in beating San Francisco at home, they need Geno to play like the Geno that we've raved about the entire season and being smart with the football, taking aggressive shots when need be, and just relying on your playmakers around you.
And Leger, to your point, saying you don't want him throwing 30 times. That's exactly what he did in the first meeting, 24 of 30. For 197 yards. Bryant McFadden, Leger Douzable previewing Thursday night football for us here on the Football Happy Hour. We've got more from them coming up. But for more from BMAC, be sure you're listening to All Things Covered podcast edition that he does alongside with his cousin Patrick Peterson. The latest episode dropped Wednesday, and it's Pat P's reaction to the Vikings failing to get the job done versus the Lions last week. Download and follow All Things Covered wherever you get your podcast audio.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.